Good morning all. In the last class we have done with the transformers, and from today we will be looking into the synchronous generators. So these synchronous generators are nothing but the common generators what we see where we use to generate the electrical power. Okay. So you might have seen generators in shopping complexes, you might have seen generators in housing complexes, in apartments. Okay, you see many places we will be looking into or we will be seeing these generators which are kept near to big buildings. Okay, so those are also the same generators what we are talking about. The word synchronous slightly mean a different operation here. Basically, these synchronous generators are nothing but the alternating current generators. Okay, so these generators we use to generate power. So transformers, we saw that the transformers are used to transfer power from one circuit to other circuit. Okay, to transfer power from one circuit to other circuit, I should be having some power generated. Okay, so the generated power, the source what we get is from these generators. So these generators will be generating the electricity, okay, from the mechanical input given to these generators. So when we were looking into the transformers, we saw the electrical machines can be categorized into three type of machines, okay, which they operate with respect to their we can say operating principle or with respect to their output requirement. Okay, so one is the machine that converts from mechanical energy to electrical energy, we call it as generator. The other which converts from electrical to mechanical, that we call it as motor. And the third which transfers electricity from one circuit to other circuit, which is our transformer. And transformer we have seen its construction, its principle, its losses, efficiency and all. Okay, so now we will be moving to synchronous generators. Okay, we will be moving to synchronous generators. These synchronous generators are nothing but AC generators or alternating current generators. Alternating current generators. Okay, because these are generating alternating current, these are also known as alternators. These are also known as alternators. Okay, and these operate on Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. These operate on Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. Now what does the Faraday's law state? Briefly we will look into the statement. Whenever there is change in the magnetic flux linking to a conductor, okay, an EMF is induced in that conductor. Okay, and second law gives us the rate of change of flux is the EMF induced in the conductor. That is, the induced EMF is always proportional to the rate of change of flux. So based on these two laws, the generators are constructed. So as per the definition of Faraday's law, okay, as per the definition of Faraday's law, whenever the flux linking to a conductor changes, an EMF is induced. Now, to induce an EMF in any coil or in any winding or in any conductor, I need two things. Okay, what I need two things is, first, a changing flux, second, a conductor to which flux is linked. Okay, I need a changing flux and a conductor to which the flux is linked. So in case of transformer we have seen that I apply a alternating source to the primary. Okay. Then I keep another coil near to this coil through the core. So this V1 produces some current I1 which will create the flux, and it will create an induced EMF E2 and induced EMF E1 in the primary. Now here it is not a big question to get the alternating flux, because this alternating flux is obtained from the alternating source. Okay, the alternating flux in the transformer is obtained from the alternating source. But the question generator will be, how do I get the changing flux linking to a conductor? That is important. How do I get a changing flux linking to a conductor? Okay, so for that I should be having some arrangement where one part of that arrangement will be stationary, other part of that arrangement will be rotating. Because already we have discussed in single phase AC generation that whenever the alternating voltage has to be generated, then if I keep the conductor rotation or the flux rotation in circular about a fixed axis, then I can get a continuous generated EMF. So it is by default we know that the moving part of the machine or the arrangement will be always moving in a circular path about the fixed axis. Okay. So now, as per the fundamental principle of Faraday's law, I need a changing flux and a conductor linking that changing flux. So one arrangement is that I can have the two poles I can have a magnet so this is a constant and stationary magnetic field. Then I can make a conductor rotate about the fixed axis or the central axis in clockwise direction. So when the conductor rotates in the magnetic field, at every instant flux cut by the conductor is different, hence the EMF induced at every instant is different. And we have already seen the induced EMF will be sinusoidal in nature. Okay? Now I can reverse the arrangement. One arrangement is I am getting this changing flux linking to the conductor. Now the flux is kept stationary and it is always constant in magnitude. The angular position of the conductor is continuously changing. So when the conductor starts rotating from its reference point, at every degree of its rotation, the flux linked to the conductor is changing. Hence, at every degree of its rotation, an EMF is induced in the conductor. This is one arrangement we can see. The second arrangement what I can do is, I can keep the conductor stationary and I can make the magnetic field rotating. Okay? So what I will do now, I will keep this conductor stationary. Okay? And I will make a two-pole magnet rotate. So this is north, this is south, this is the shaft axis. Now the flux is created. Now the magnitude of the flux is kept constant. Okay, this can be done by simply winding the wire on this and supplying it with DC source. Now take a magnetic core, wind the wire around it and supply a DC source. Now wire should be highly inductive. Now supply a DC source. Now this will become an electromagnet, rotate it. So when I rotate this electromagnet, the magnetic flux created by this magnet will also start rotating. Now what is happening? At every position of the rotation of rotor, my conductor is experiencing change in flux. So in this case also, the conductor is experiencing a change in flux, hence an EMF is induced in the conductor. So I can induce an EMF by first method, where I keep the magnetic field stationary and I keep the conductor moving or rotating. In second case, I will keep the conductor stationary and keep the magnetic field itself moving or rotating, exclusively rotating. Okay? Now which of these two systems I should use for generating electricity in synchronous generators or alternators? Which will be more advantageous? That is my point. If I use this, it is more advantageous, or if I use this, it is more advantageous. Okay? Generally, in all the generators, we use the second method, where the magnetic field is rotating and conductor is stationary. Why? Because the amount of power generated in generator is not in terms of watts, it will be minimum in terms of megawatts, where the conductor has to carry thousands of amperes of current. So when I have to supply this current to the load, I have to collect the current from the rotating part of the conductor. It is extremely difficult to collect the current from the rotating part. Okay? So what I will do, I will keep that large current generated in the stationary part and I can make the magnetic field rotating. Why? Because the magnetic field is generated with a small DC voltage of 110 volts or 220 volts. Okay? VDC will be either 110 volts or 220 volts and the current is IDC will be less than 5 amperes. It will be very much less than 5 amperes or at the max 5 to 10 amperes. So it is very easy for me to give 5 to 10 amperes of current at 220 volts to a rotating part than collecting thousands of amperes of current at 11,000 volts. Generator will always, this is synchronous generator or alternator, will generate power at 11,000 volts, 11 kV. Okay, that is the operating voltage of generator. Later it will be stepped up, current will be stepped down. Later at the receiving end, the voltage is stepped down, current gets stepped up. Okay, that is what the transformer is doing in my power system. Now, it is extremely easy for me to collect the large amount of current and voltage from the stationary part than in the rotating part. Okay? So, because the field voltage requirement is only 220 volts, okay, or 110 volts DC with current not more than 10 amperes, it is extremely easy for me to provide. See, this DC voltage I am giving externally either by using batteries or by using DC generator. Okay? Because magnetic field has to be produced externally. Because I am using electromagnet, I have to give electricity externally. If I use permanent magnet, I will be not connecting any supply to that. Permanent magnet will generate its magnetic field. But because I want controlled magnetism, I will be using electromagnet. Therefore, for the field, whether I use first system, second system or first system, I have to provide external magnetizing current to create magnetic flux in the generator. Okay? So this magnetic flux is created externally from the DC source. Why DC source? Because my flux has to remain constant. VDC flux has to remain constant. If I provide VAC, then my flux will be alternating. I don't want alternating current, flux. I want a DC flux or steady flux. Therefore, I provide a DC source to the field, okay, or the magnetic part, which will create a constant magnetic field. And when I make it rotating, the magnetic flux rotates, linking to the conductor. Hence, this conductor will experience a continuous change in flux, and an EMF is induced in the conductor. Now, because the rotation is circular, the EMF induced in the conductor is exactly sinusoidal voltage. When I make a conductor rotate in the constant flux lines, the induced EMF is sinusoidal in nature. Exactly, the EMF induced in the conductor is sinusoidal in nature. Okay? This is how I generate electrical voltage and current, or general electrical power in an alternator. Okay? So this alternator should come with an arrangement so that it can hold the conductor and it can make the necessary rotating part of the magnetic field. So next we will see the construction. And there are certain advantages of using stationary. After construction I will tell what is armature and what. Okay. So construction. So in construction there are two parts. Okay. One is stator, second is rotor. Okay. Because we know, now we got to know that the flux must be rotating, conductor must be stationary. So one part must be stationary, other part must be rotating. So stator is stationary. It is a stationary part. And this stator is also known as armature. This is known as armature. Okay? Stator is known as armature. Rotor, as the name suggests, it is rotating. Okay? This is rotating part. And rotor is known as field system. Field system, or simply field. Because it is creating magnetic field, it is known as field system. That's it. Okay? Now we will see exactly how the stator looks and how the rotor looks. Okay? And in the rotor, there are two types. Okay? We have two types of rotor. Okay? One is salient pole type. Second is non-salient pole, or cylindrical, smooth cylindrical. So we will see one by one the parts of the construction. Okay? Salient pole type and non-salient pole type are the rotors. Stator is same for both the types of rotors. Okay? So first we will see stator. That is armature. So armature. So this is a stator. So this is the construction of the stator of an alternator. Okay. So stator of an alternator is, or a synchronous generator is an armature. We call it as armature, which is a hollow cylinder. Okay. It is a hollow cylindrical structure. Okay. Where the number of slots are punched in the inner periphery of the hollow cylinder, and in these slots I keep the armature conductors. Okay, so this entire construction is known as armature. Okay, so this is called the yoke or cover, which you see for when you see any machine. Okay, any electrical machine, rotating machine, you see the outer cover, that is called as yoke. Okay, you see the outer cover, that is called as yoke, and this is made up of cast iron. The outer cover or yoke is made up of cast iron. Cast iron is very hard and brittle. Okay, whenever any mechanical impact occur on that, it won't bend. Sometimes it may break. Okay. The purpose of making outer cover or the yoke with cast iron is, any mechanical impact it experiences, there should not be change in the shape of the motor, or the machine. Hence cast iron is prepared for the yoke, where it is very hard and brittle, and it will be having sufficient mechanical strength. Okay. Whereas armature core is made up of silicon steel laminations. Again I tell laminations. Okay, the laminations are made up of this shape, circular shape laminations, where we will be punching the slots inside in the inner periphery, and all the laminations are stacked or pressed together to form sufficient thickness or sufficient length. Any core, you please remember, any core, whether it is armature core, whether it is pole core, field core, whenever I mention core in an electromagnetic system, it is made up of laminations. Okay, and the purpose of using laminations is to avoid eddy current losses. Okay, to minimize eddy current losses to a large extent. In one of the previous lectures, we have seen how the use of laminations reduce the eddy current losses to a very large extent. Okay, so the armature core is made up of silicon steel laminations. Okay. So first we will be preparing armature core laminations, we stack them together, we get a sufficient length. Upon that I will be placing the cover or yoke. Okay. The slots are punched in the inner periphery so that I can place the conductors. Now these are called as armature conductors. Just now we discussed that the conductors are kept stationary. Therefore, what all conductors are placed in the armature slot will remain stationary, and armature conductors will be in the form of winding. In the form of winding. It will be in the form of winding. Okay, it won't be single conductor placed in a single slot. Large number of winding we will be using in the armature slots. Okay, large number of conductors kept in the form of winding we will be using in the armature slots. Okay, so this is armature slot, inside which the armature conductor is placed. This is a base plate. Base plate in the sense a platform where I can keep the machine. It is simply a stand-like structure. Okay, base plate. This is lifting eye. Lifting eye hook. Okay, if I have to lift it, I cannot lift it with my both the hands. It will be extremely heavy. I should be using cranes for this lifting. If the generator is very large, I use cranes for this. Okay, so there I should be using hooks, and this will be the eye, lifting eye. Okay, this is terminal box from where the field input is given and the armature output is taken. RYB indicates output, plus VDC, plus and minus VDC is input to field. Okay, so this is the armature structure. It is an hollow cylinder. Okay, armature is an hollow cylinder where the slots are punched in its inner periphery. The slots are punched in its inner periphery. Okay, if you see the structure, it looks like this. Okay, so this is the circular hollow cylinder. Okay, I could not make sufficient depth because of lack of time in preparing this. Okay, if I could prepare the entire stator structure, I will send you the video of that. Okay, so this is the hollow cylinder. You can consider this as one lamination now. Then when I stack so many number of laminations, I get sufficient amount of thickness. Okay, so it is exactly the same. So this is the stator of an alternator. Sorry, I could not show you the lifting eye, the terminal box and the base plate. Okay, those are extra attachments I have to do. I should finish it because in a hurry I have prepared this. So you can see this is the slot where I will be placing the conductor. Okay, so this conductor is placed in the form of winding. Conductors are in the stationary in the form of winding. Okay. So this is made up of silicon steel, mild steel. Okay, so this is the structure. When you open the generator and see what armature looks like, is this. This is one lamination. When I add so many number of laminations, I get sufficient amount of thickness. Okay, so this is what we call it as the stator or the armature of an alternator. Okay, so next we'll move to the rotating parts. Second is rotor or field system. Rotor is also known as field system. Okay, and I told just now that there are two types of rotors in synchronous generators. One is salient pole type. Salient pole rotor. Second is smooth cylindrical. Or cylindrical, simply cylindrical. Simply cylindrical rotor. Okay. So we'll see one by one. First we'll see salient pole rotor. N, S, N and S. So this is magnetic wheel. This is slip ring. This is carbon brush. These are field coils. These are pole cores. Pole core. Pole. This is shaft. So this is called salient pole rotor or projected pole rotor. This is known as salient pole rotor or projected pole rotor. Okay? Why? Because the poles are projecting outside from the center. The poles are getting projected. There are projections of these poles. Hence it is called projected pole rotor or salient pole rotor, not silent pole. Please remember, it is salient pole. Salient means projection. Okay? So this type of rotor is having the salient poles fixed to a heavy magnetic wheel. This is a heavy magnetic wheel. That heavy magnetic wheel is again made up of silicon steel laminations only. And these projected poles are fixed using the fixation. The fixation can be of any type. I can use the nut bolt system or I can use the wedge shaped fixation. Okay, it is simply an indication that these are fixed externally. Okay, these are not fabricated generally as a whole. These are fixed externally, and this is a four-pole rotor. It is a four-pole rotor. Okay, so now these are the field coils. See, I have taken the cross section of the poles. So when I place the winding, I will get these coils. Okay, these are called field coils. Those are the field coils or the field winding to which I am giving DC supply. Now the question is how I can give DC supply or how I can give the external supply to a rotating body. So for that I will be using two slip rings. Okay, if you see the construction of this, if I see the elevation, this will be, it will be looking like a simple rectangle. Okay. And we have two slip rings which is made up of copper. Okay. And these are field windings what we have is connected. So these two are the permanent connections of field coils to the slip rings. Okay. To this slip ring, and these two are the brushes. These two brushes. Okay, and to this brush I am giving the external DC supply. So and these brushes are connected to the stationary part, those are not rotating. The brushes will be simply sliding over. Suppose this is the brush sliding over the rotating part of the slip ring, and when the rotor rotates, the brush will be in contact with the rotor, continuously in contact with the rotor. In this way, using slip ring and brush arrangement, I will be giving field supply from stationary source to the rotating body. These will be rotating continuously, and these two brushes will be simply continuously sliding over the slip rings. One slip ring is of positive terminal, second slip ring is of negative terminal. So I will be giving plus and minus VDC, where I will be getting the field current. This field current will create the flux in the field. That is the field current which will create the flux. Now if you see exactly how this 4-pole machine is connected with field winding is, simply I will show here. Okay. Now I have one slip ring, other slip ring. So these are connected to the two ends of slip ring, and to these brushes I am connecting this VDC. So this is how the field coils are connected. I will send you the exact figures. Okay. So when I connect external DC source to the field winding through the brushes and through the slip rings, okay, I am connecting VDC through these brushes. Brushes are made up of carbon. Why? Because carbon is a soft material. That is the reason. I don't make brushes using the metallic materials. Okay. You might have used the rheostats in your practicals. Whenever I slide the slider of the rheostat, you see the black part sliding on the wire. The wire is stationary in the rheostat. I am sliding the slider of the rheostat. The material that is in contact with the wire and the slider is carbon brush, which is of soft material. So it won't damage the slip rings made up of copper. Slip rings are copper, brushes are of carbon. Now from source through brushes, the supply is reaching to slip rings, and these slip rings are permanently connected to the field winding. So in this way, from external DC source I am giving the supply to the field winding. Okay. Now when the field winding gets the supply, it will create the magnetic field. Now how should be the poles created? If number of poles are there, if there are only two poles, one is north, one is south, it is very much evident. If there are more than two poles, number of poles can be only even, it can't be odd poles. I can't have 5 poles or 3 poles or 7 poles. Either it can be 2 pole, 4 pole, 6 pole, 8 pole, 10 pole, 20 pole, like that. Now, alternating poles are of opposite polarity. If this is north, this should be south. Then it will be north, it will be south. This is north, not possible. We don't do that. Okay? And the magnetic field will be like this. These are the magnetic lines of flux. Okay, so these are the magnetic lines of flux. Like that, there is magnetic field produced in the between any two poles. Okay, and these four poles, this pole core is again made up of silicon steel laminations of this shape. Now, when I place this rotor inside the stator, now we know that stator is a hollow cylinder. Stator is a hollow cylinder. Now I will place this rotor inside the stator. Okay, so this is stator with number of slots, and each slot containing the conductors. Now when this rotor starts rotating, the magnetic field will also start rotating. The magnetic field will also start rotating. Hence, the flux linked to a conductor changes and an EMF is induced in the conductor. Okay? So, this is all about the salient pole rotor or projected pole rotor. This type of rotor construction is used for low speed machines. Okay? Salient pole or projected pole system we use for low speed applications. These are generally have large diameter and shorter axial length. These are large diameter and shorter axial length. Okay? Because the poles are projected, okay, or before we go to that part, you can see how the poles will look like. This is a salient pole rotor, okay, and the blue lines what you are seeing are the windings, okay. This is winding, and what you are seeing, these two white strips separated by a blue line. One is slip ring for positive terminal, other is slip ring for negative terminal. Okay, so one end of the field coil is connected to one slip ring, other end of the field coil is connected to other slip ring. Okay, this is one slip ring, this is one slip ring. Okay, so one end of the field coil will be connected to one slip ring, other end of the field coil will be connected to other slip ring. On these two slip rings there will be brushes. Suppose my fingers are brushes. Okay. And when the external supply is given to this, okay, the supply is given from the source through these brushes, and these brushes will be continuously sliding even when the rotor rotates. Even when the rotor rotates, suppose I take only one brush for showing the operation. Even when the rotor rotates, the brushes will be stationary and sliding over the rotor. So there is a continuous supply of DC to this slip ring, through which the DC is connected to the field coils. Through which the DC is connected to the field coils. Now when the DC is obtained by these field coils, then these field coils will create the magnetic flux. Now when this rotor is kept inside the stator, this is how the complete alternator looks like. Rotor placed inside the stator. Okay, the rotor placed inside the stator. Now when I provide the mechanical energy to the generator, what is generator? Generator is a machine that takes mechanical energy and gives electrical energy. So it is an energy converter from mechanical to electrical energy. Now when I give mechanical energy in the form of rotation, and rotation can be obtained from many sources. Okay, in the very first few classes I explained what are the different sources of potential energy through which I can generate electrical energy. Suppose hydroelectric station is there, thermal station is there, so I can use the water, I can use the steam, okay, I can use the tidal energy. There are many ways where how I can get the rotation. I can use wind energy. Now suppose this rotor is connected to a hydroelectric turbine, okay, and the water is falling on the turbine blades and turbine is continuously rotating, hence the rotor is continuously rotating. Now when the rotor rotates inside the stator, okay, see, suppose there is a conductor here. Suppose I have placed a conductor here. I don't have that arrangement right now, sorry for that. Suppose I have a conductor here. Or I will show this only. Okay? Yeah, this will be okay. I have placed a conductor. Conductor is stationary and I have placed a magnetic field or field system and I give the rotation. Now see, with respect to this conductor, now the conductor is under the influence of north pole. When the rotor rotates, now it is under the influence of south pole. Again it comes under the influence of north pole, south pole. This is continuous. As long as the rotor rotates, the conductor is experiencing the change in magnetic flux. Hence an EMF is induced in this. Hence an EMF is induced in this. This is how I generate electricity in the generator. This is exactly the application of Faraday's law. Okay? So this is rotor, which is a salient pole rotor. You can see the projected poles here. These are the projected poles. The poles are projected outside and upon that I am placing the winding. Upon that I am placing the winding. This winding is permanently connected to slip rings and slip rings are supplied from the external DC through brushes. This is how I am creating magnetic field in the generator. Okay, and when this magnetic field is put in the machine, when I place this in the machine, and there should be gap between the stator and the rotor. I cannot have the mechanical contact between stator and rotor. If I get mechanical contact, the machines will break down mechanically. There is a gap, a uniform gap in the entire diameter or on the circumference and throughout the length. This is the length of the motor, sorry, this is the length of the machine, this is the length of the machine, this is the diameter of the machine. Okay? So I should place this rotor inside the stator in such a way that at every point of circumference the air gap should be constant, same. Okay? Then when I rotate this rotor inside the stator, the change in magnetic flux is experienced by the stator conductor or the armature conductor and an EMF is induced in it. Now the EMF induced in this is 11 kilovolts and current is thousands of amperes. So because all the conductors are placed in stationary part, simply I can connect this stationary conductors to any system. It is easy. Hence, I keep the armature in the stationary part. Armature means what? It is that part of the machine which gives us the output. Armature concept we will get in DC machines also. Armature of any rotating machine is that part of machine which gives us the output. Okay, desired output. The desired output of alternator or the generator is electrical energy. So the part that gives us electrical energy is armature. Now if I take the first system where flux is stationary and conductors are rotating, the rotating part will become armature in that case. So I keep the armature stationary to collect the large amount of voltage and current easily. That is one biggest advantage. Okay? So this is the construction of stator and a salient pole rotor. Okay? And this salient pole rotor I will be using for low speed applications. I will be using for low speed applications. Why? Because if I have to place large number of poles, okay, if you take a hydroelectric generator, the number of poles are around 26 to 30. If I have to place large number of projected poles, then the diameter of the rotor should be large. Why the diameter of hydroelectric generator will be large? Because the water is falling on the generator, okay? The water will be falling on the turbine. To collect a large amount of kinetic energy from the falling water, the diameter of the turbine should be large. Therefore, diameter of rotor is also made large with more number of poles, and the speed obtained by that is less. The speed obtained by hydroelectric generator is hardly 300 to 600 rpm. This is for low speed applications around 300 to 600 rpm. Just 300 to 600 rpm. Okay. So this type of rotor is used for low speed applications, because if the diameter increases, centrifugal forces increase. With the increase in centrifugal forces, the fixations may get loosened and there may be a physical damage of the rotor and entire generator, because it gets loosened, it will come in contact with the stator, mechanical breakdown occurs. Okay. So this is all about the construction of stator and salient pole rotor. In the next class, we will look into the construction of non-salient pole rotor, and then we will move into the equation for frequency and other aspects. Okay. So thank you for joining the lecture. Okay.